I can confidently say that one of the most popular, most requested, most beloved baby name themes is nature name. And speaking as someone who didn't intentionally give nature names, like two of my kids' names have a subtle nature meaning, I can see why it's so popular though. Like, I considered them. I love nature names, and there is something incredibly like soothing and universal and powerful about giving your child a nature name. Think, for example, how popular now we have Willow and Meadow for girls, we have Ridge and Rocky for boys. These names are just growing in popularity, and they're making room and paving the way for even more gorgeous nature names. Hi, my name is Steph. I'm a name consultant, a content creator, an author, a mom of three, and a lover of all things whimsical. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're a name enthusiast like myself, or you're naming a baby, or a plant, or a dog, or you're an author naming characters in your book, I just love chatting names, and I'm grateful to have you here. Today we're going to look at 10 uncommon nature-inspired girl names and 10 uncommon nature-inspired boy names, because frankly, we've seen the other ones a lot. Let's spice things up. My first girl name for you guys is going to be this gorgeous Latin word name, apricity. How stunning is that? And that's not even the most beautiful part. I'm not even kidding. But apricity, it reminds me of Felicity, but everyone loves an A name. It ends in a Y, like it's perfection. And then listen to the meaning. Apricity means the warmth of the sun in winter. I mean, I could stop the video right now because that is hands down the most beautiful nature meaning ever. The warmth of the sun in winter. Are you kidding me? I can't. I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's just too beautiful. But we'll move on. My first boy name also starts with an A, but it's giving a very different vibe. It's more southern country. What about acre? Yes, it means unit of land, but it's also giving farmer, down-to-earth, country boy. Like, how stinking cute is the name Acre? For my second girl's name, what about Alestrin? It's Cornish for iris, and it reminds me highly of Elowin, which people are loving. That's Cornish for elm. Elowin with a Y is ranking in the top 1,000 in the US, but I have not heard anyone talking about Alestrin, and I think it is absolutely stunning. Great nickname potential. Definitely put it on your list if you want a more subtle meaning of a nature name. Next up, we have Caspian, which I have talked about for many years now. It is one of my ultimate favorite boy names, Caspian. It's actually ranking at 665 in the US, which is fine. It's still uncommon, honestly. If you're ranking that high in the top 1,000, you're still not going to have another Caspian in your class, taken from the Caspian Sea. I just think it is such a cute alternative, especially if you grew up like I did, loving Casper. I just love it, and it was one of those things where I thought, I shouldn't include this because I feel like I talk about Caspian all the time, but I had to include it. Next up for the girls, we have the name Hester, which feels a little bit gender neutral almost to me. It's actually a variation on the name Esther, and it likely means star as well. But I think it's so beautiful, and we all love a name that means star, right? There's also the name Aster, which means star. I think Hester is absolutely beautiful and a great alternative if you do have a Esther in your life that you want to honor, but maybe want something a little different. For boys, my next name also starts with a C. It is Clifton. It's an English name meaning like settlement on a cliff. I think it's a great way to get to the really cool nickname of Cliff. But Clifton, it also just sounds really prestigious and, collegiate and Ivy League. So would you ever consider Clifton? Moving back to the girl list, we have Hyacinth. It's a beautiful flower. It's a beautiful name. It's a little bit tricky to spell. I think some people might struggle with that part of it because I know we all love a name that's easy to say and spell. But I feel like a lot of people have seen Hyacinth before, and I think it's a really cool ending sound. There's nothing else like it. I would love that sort of uncommon, unique name. That one's pretty unique. Like, how often have you met a hyacinth? And if you know a hyacinth, let me know. It does remind you possibly of Bridgerton. I'm a huge Bridgerton fan. One of the kids' names is Hyacinth, but I personally have never met a single person with that name. So I think it's a fantastic nature name. For boys, what about the name Denver? Yes, it's a city here. If you live in the US, you know that Denver is in Colorado. It's got a couple possible meanings, English for Daneford or Green Valley. Essentially, we're talking about water and greenery, and I think it's a really lovely, subtle nature name that's also a place name, and I think it's a really cool sounding name for a boy. Hi, my name is Denver. I love it. I think it's great. My next girl name is actually pretty gender neutral, and I think it's popular for boys and girls, but I use the term popular loosely when I'm talking about uncommon names. But it's kestrel, which is a type of bird, like a bird of prey. I just love it. I mean, she could go by Kessie or Trell or Trelly, I don't know, Kestrel. To me, it feels very feminine. To me, it sounds really melodic and beautiful. I'm not usually a huge fan of K names, and I just love this bird name. So if you are interested in birds, or I don't know, you just like the way it sounds, this is a great option. For boys, we have an F name as well. What about Fennel? To me, fennel is a spice. It's like little things you find on your sausage on a pizza, right? But if you think about it in the terms of baby names, and it sounds to me like Finley. Fennel, Finley, pretty similar. And instead of a nickname of Finn, he could go by Fen, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I love a softer boy name. One of my kids has an F name, and so honestly, I love it so much. I always try to put fennel on nature names, but it's quite uncommon. But yeah, would you consider it? Next up for the girls, we have the name Linden. As someone who has the middle name Lynn, I really like Linden, especially for girls, although it's pretty gender neutral. It is a type of tree, and it's a tree that has heart-shaped leaves, which I think is absolutely beautiful, giving your love, representing your love for your child. Such a lovely nature name, and pretty specific, like people might have heard of a linden tree. For boys, my next name is Grove. Now, I did a video recently, like a funny meme video about how we don't use Elmo and Grover anymore because they remind us of the Muppets. But Grove to me has an entirely different vibe. Would you agree? To me, Grove is a softer nature name than like Stone. They're still one syllable. They're still both really beautiful, but one is more intense sounding, like Stone, Grove. There's something really sweet, and like it makes you think of a tree orchard or a fruit orchard. And so I really like the name Grove for a boy. Next up, we have Una, which spelled specifically this way with O-O-N-A is my favorite way to spell it. It's a variation on U-N-A. It means lamb, Irish name. I think it is so beautiful. I mean, I do love a vowel name. I do love an O name. And I do love a 4-letter name. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Una is so pretty. And maybe it reminds you of Uma Thurman, but would you ever consider, this is a very subtle nature connection, and I think it's absolutely stunning. Next up for boys, we have the name Hawthorne. So I really like this one because it gives you the really cool, edgy nickname of Hawk, but it's also giving surname as first name vibes, which so many people are obsessed with right now. It essentially means a person who lives by a thorn bush, but I just think Hawthorne is one of the coolest nature boy names you could possibly use, and I love it so much. Next, for the girls, we have a very obvious nature-inspired name. So what about Prairie? As we were talking about Muppets and like Sesame Street, in my head I'm thinking Prairie Dawn. Isn't Prairie Dawn one of the puppets on Sesame Street? I don't know. It reminds me of Meadow, but Meadow is popular. Meadow is ranking at 352. Prairie is not being used enough, but it is so pretty. It has a great ending sound that is very feminine. It's lovely. I love a P name. I don't know. I think this is such a stunning nature name that I hope to see continue to get more and more popular. Next up is my all-time favorite. How many times have I said this is my favorite nature name? Okay, this is my all-time favorite nature boy name, Roscoe. I also try to put this in as many videos as I can. It means deer, forest, or wood. And I love the nickname of Ross or Roz or Co. I think it has such a great sound because to me it sounds really strong and masculine, but also at the same time very welcoming and sweet and soft. And I can't put my finger on it, but ever since I've heard the name Roscoe, I have been obsessed. I would love to have another kid or an animal or a plant or something. I'm going to be naming something in the future Roscoe because it is so lovely. Next up for the girls, we have a spice name that I actually considered for my third child, Saffron. It's Persian for gold leaves. I love the nickname potential of Safi and Ronnie, and unfortunately my husband, who lacks whimsy, as most of you know by now, he said no. So I didn't get to use saffron, but I absolutely love it. It's actually the most expensive spice in the world, like seriously the most expensive spice you can purchase. So I think that has a great like kind of symbolic meaning of like, you love them the most. I mean, we love all our children the most, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's a very special, like elevated meaning. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful nature name. Next up for the boys is a name that you will love if you love the name Silas, but you're like, Silas is in the top 100. It's too popular, which is fair. But it's so cute. So this is a variation on it, Sylvan. I think it's so lovely. It's still Latin for of the woods or of the forest. Very beautiful. People are going to recognize it. Pretty easy to say and spell. Gives you a cute nickname of Van. Would you consider Sylvan instead of Silas? My final name for girls is a name that's being used by celebrities or public figures. Kaylin Lowry from Teen Mom originally. She gave it to one of her twins, Valley. I am obsessed with this name for a girl. It is so light and airy and feminine, but at the same time, like giving super cool vibes. I love how easy it is to say and spell. I love that it's obviously a valley in nature, and I think it's a fantastic nature name that I'm curious if after her like publicly sharing her twins' names, if it will have a spike in the years to come on the Social Security Administration list. We'll have to wait and see. And finally, for boys, I have another V name. We have Vance, which means marsh. And I think that is a really sweet name. Another one syllable. People love a one syllable name. He can go by Van if you want a nickname. I don't know. Super cool guy. Hi, my name is Vance. What do you guys think? All right, that is 20 uncommon nature-inspired baby names for you to enjoy. I hope you liked this list. And again, let me know what other themes you'd want to see. I love sharing baby name lists. Check out all my social medias. I'm Names with Steph everywhere. And also, my second book is coming out October 1st, just so you guys know. There will be a pre-order starting at the end of August, and I'm getting really excited to share 1,000 more names with you guys, and all, like almost all brand new themes. So get excited, look for information to come, and thanks for being here. Happy naming!